I'm Ali.
And I'm Dominic.
I'm Carla.
I'm Emma.
This is our group video for ETP102. The main focus of all our narratives was linking hidden curriculum and gender to our own personal stories.
So Giro defined hidden curriculum as the values that are transferred by social relationships and from teachers as well. So it's retained from schooling, but it's not written down. So it's just something that you learn as you go.
We also elaborate on cultural capital and power to understand collective experiences of our group.
So social capital is defined as the sum of the actual and potential resources embedded within, available through and derived through the network of relationships processed by an individual or social unit.
So before we start our stories, just want to get knowledge. So what kind of school environments do you come from? For myself, I came from a private Catholic single-sex all-boys school.
I went to a co-ed school, so I was a Catholic.
I went to a Catholic private all-girls school.
I went to an all-girls school which was public.
Cool. And so, yeah, for my story, to put it simply, summarize it, essentially I just wrote about the social capital through, social capital through popularity and status that came through knowing girls and having girlfriends during my all-boys school experience. And that really came to light during some kind of school intermingling, whether it was like through socials, ballroom dancing, and then kind of more later formals, and it was sort of this kind of like who could get a girlfriend, who could talk to lots of girls, and then the losers who couldn't. And you know, it wasn't necessarily a fun experience, but it's just sort of, it really became a bit of an ugly power game. And
so I focused a lot on the power my dad had over me and the gender stereotypes he had, saying like, you know, teaching is a female career and like I needed to go to university and have like a higher degree for a career, and he, like not really happy with childcare. I had to further my studies, and so just the power he had over me and the gender.
Yeah, I really zoned in on the rules that my school put onto us. It was about like uniform and that we weren't allowed to talk about boys. So after school, when we were finished and then we would go to the train station, teachers would be there waiting for us to be seeing if we were like looking at any boys, which wasn't allowed. So I really linked that to like how the school viewed women. So looking at it through a sociological perspective, it was more that they didn't want women to be attractive and we were desexualized. And then linking that to our lack of sex education, which when we discuss all ours, a lot of us had a lack of as well.
So I guess talked about the fact that our school was very empowering women. We were able to pick whatever subjects we wanted. There was no influence of males being dominant in certain subjects and things like that. And I think my school tried to go against those gender stereotypes to some extent. However, when it came to things like uniform, the way we were supposed to act, it was very much that we were women and we had to act like women within our schooling environment.
So we're going to start with Ellie and I in particular because we had the same situation with a strict uniform and that hidden curriculum. We both felt like we had to be physically unattractive.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like desexualized, couldn't express individuality.
We both felt like it was assumed that we knew nothing about sex. Long skirts and no makeup and no piercings and all that kind of stuff. It was just felt like we're children and like that we couldn't learn about all this stuff because it was just a really bad thing.
Do you think that was because you're at a Catholic environment though, or did that have an influence over it? Like obviously you were at a co-ed school.
Yeah, I was at a co-ed.
You were in an all-girls school.
I think the Catholic had like a big hold over that.
Yeah.
Because they are a lot stricter, but...
Yeah, I mean like with our uniform policy being at the public school, it wasn't that enforced as long as we were in like a gendered uniform. There was no option for like gender neutral or anything like that. You had to be in a girls' uniform.
We had to look, like physically unattractive. It was kind of also assuming that, so for gender stereotypes, it was assuming that men would get distracted as well.
That's a prejudice against men as well.
Yeah, but it's also like supporting you guys can't control yourself, and it's saying that like you guys are wild. And it is a form of victim blaming, and I think we all felt like that with our like school uniform policy. At the end of the day, if we were sent home because of our uniform, which a lot of us were, It was just putting this assumption that education is less important than what we wear.
Your sexualization is more important than your education.
Definitely, yeah.
Dominic, being in an all boys school,
Yeah.
did you find that you had strict uniform policies, or was it just
It was strict. It got a bit more lax. I think the staff just stopped trying. Like it was for like an undefeatable battle, unfortunately.
Mhm.
It wasn't that enforced, no, not humongously. And I don't know if it definitely, when it was enforced, it was more, I guess, not so much out of a sexualization kind of mindset, more of just like a school pride kind of thing, like looking formal, looking sharp.
I guess you had a better focus on your education rather than the way that you looked and presented?
Yeah, no one would have gotten sent home for bad uniform. No
No.
way.
Yeah, it is bad for you guys as men because you guys are viewed as like childish. You guys can control yourself, and men,
Yeah.
most of you will be fine around women. But it was just saying that you guys aren't, which is unfortunate. We also had a lot of similarities between our teachers.
I had mainly women teachers within my subjects. They tried, I think, to place especially women teaching things like maths and science to show like the students that that was something that we could excel in. But I know there was a few schools that, you know, those subjects were mainly male dominated.
Mine was mainly male for maths and science.
Yeah.
But
And
the
that's-
rest of the subjects were female dominated.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
things like your psych, your health and things like that.
Yeah.
When with those gender stereotypes that was what women were able to teach and able to be good at.
So that maths and science thing is supporting the gender stereotype that only men can do the harder subjects. We all pretty much had male teachers that taught us maths and science. Women teachers, it felt like the school was fairly supportive that women can be empathetic and can be a good teacher.
There was the statistics that 79% of teachers are women and only 21% are males. That was in 2001.
And how do you feel that like male teachers are declining every year?
Yeah, it's scary.
Like, why do you think that's happening?
Well, on a personal opinion, the stereotype that male teachers are predators. That's kind of an ugly one. I've received it a bit, and it really sucks. It really hurts a lot.
Yeah.
And
That's definitely a gender stereotype.
At girls' schools as well, like they were worried that it would be a distraction to the students in the classes.
Yeah, definitely. The school could think that either the girls would get distracted, or that the men would be would be getting distracted as well.
But also, how many, kind of a weird question, I can think of myself, but like, some of the your young male teachers at your schools, how many of the girls had crushes on them? When you think about it?
100%.
So well, there you go, kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
I can think of, there was like 2 girls at my high school that were like young, mid-20s, and like all teenage boys, and I swear half the school was in love with them both. Like it was, like I was joking, like why would you even hire them? You just know.
Yeah.
So,
it's not gonna end well.
yeah.
We're also going to talk about how we felt disadvantaged within our school. So for Ali and I, we definitely felt disadvantaged. We're going to link this to the knowledge around the culture and the cultural identity and the background of students from Aboriginal descent. So we haven't really had much connection with Aboriginal peoples. None of us had. Acknowledgement of land and prayers for Aboriginal peoples and always acknowledging them. So there's been an increase in how much we are learning about Aboriginal peoples. But then looking back on our experience, we were never really taught it. So only at university have we been starting to learn more about Aboriginal peoples. But I think we all feel like we've never really been taught about them or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it was at our school, like, we did those days where you had to say sorry and things like that. But it wasn't really as part of the curriculum. It was just kind of an additional thing that was
it's
kind
coming
of put in
up
on the side. But yeah, I think now it's being a little bit more prominent.
Do you feel like teachers bring a prejudice against Aboriginal peoples without even knowing it? Like there's a lot of knowledge that we have, but
I think just like even going through school and having that segregated to us that they are different, then bringing, I guess that will carry through so that you've always got that kind of in the back of your head that you need to be treating them different and treating them with more respect, etc.
or give like extra attention.
Yeah.
Which is not always needed.
No, it's not, and I don't. Yeah, it's a bit of a controversial subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a heavy subject. All students get treated the same and should be treated the same. We can also link that to ATL Standard 1.1, which is supporting all like characteristics, whether that be physical or social or intellectual. So as teachers, we want to support everyone and make sure that they all feel like they're being
Included.
included as
Yeah.
well.